Opening credits. Mental training, learn determination, self-discipline, and success skills. Written by Wesley Jones. Narrated by Rick Parody. Chapter 1. How to build your own determination. What is determination? Because it may be simple to understand the self bit, it is when the determination is added that it becomes two words in one that need to be cleared and fully grasped. To be determined is to have a mind that is not easily deterred. It means to have a resolve about a particular issue or item as to how one has chosen to go by it. Self-determination, therefore, is a way to stay motivated and inspired throughout a particular situation or circumstance or experience without giving up or stepping out of the boat until the target or aim of the process is accomplished or achieved. It is a personal resolve to always be a winner and never a loser. It is a win-win attitude and mindset. How do you build your self-determination? There are a number of ways, but let us start by discussing just one of them. Focus. That is one powerful ingredient and tool that can be used to build one's self-determination. It is not that easy to maintain focus on something. Can you imagine how many things have crossed your mind just within the time you started reading this great information about staying self-determined? That is how challenging it can be to maintain focus and keep going without looking back on a mission or target that has already been set. You just pay close attention to how quickly we all derail from our goals and dreams and targets to the point of finding it so hard to accomplish something or anything whatsoever it is that can be referred to as being worth a while. We all fall into this loophole very easily. To conquer this daunting challenge and stay focused in life about all that may be our goals and dreams and targets, we need to have signposts and yardsticks to measure progress in all that we lay our hands to do. The signposts and progress measure bars also have to be simple things that break down huge and large tasks into smaller bits so that it is a thing of joy to celebrate every breakthrough point of achievement. This is very important in maintaining focus, and it ultimately helps to boost our self-determination. Anyone can talk about how determined they are in the mind until they encounter some distraction they did not plan for and thought will only take a few seconds or minutes, but ends up clearing them off their feet and flooring their entire goal down the gutter. Maintaining focus is not an easy task, we must conclude, but it is possible to achieve it when the idea shared here is employed and properly implemented. Once you use this idea of focusing on small things along the way to great achievements, let us know how well it has helped you to achieve your goal of building your self-determination both for the short and long term. Behind every success, there is determination. Yes, determination. 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 A determination to succeed, determination to make a difference, determination to move on despite setbacks and mistakes. Now, let us focus on ourselves. Have you ever found yourself in a situation where you believed you would improve your lot in life, only to find a number of things that you didn't sign up for? Maybe you started a business or got a job that didn't start out well. Maybe you were married and things got tough. My friend, it's time I tell you this. Often in life, things get horrible sometimes, worse than you can imagine before they get better. Success, I know, is not a roller coaster ride. There is a conspiracy going on that I want to reveal to you here. Know that before you, a lot of successful people that we know today, like Bill Gates, Oprah Winfrey, Tiger Woods, Jimo Ibrahim, etc., have wrestled demoralizing challenges that almost threw them off the ladder. But behind their great ideas and dreams, hopes, faith, creativity, and success was determination. They were determined to get it through, no matter what it will cost them. They were determined to get to the other side of life by creating and putting everything they have got into them, challenging their ugly situation. You know, poverty can be uglier. Like I said earlier, there is a conspiracy going on between the two divides of poverty and wealth, successful marriage and divorces, and so on. The god of success tests your resolve to succeed. They test to see if you will be a good ambassador of the success you are asking for. It puts before you the hurdles and challenges to jump over. Most of these hurdles are so disheartening that some people give up. Some people fight so hard that a minute to achieving success, they opt out. But a determined person, the gods crowned. Therefore, my friend, if you want to be successful in this life, keep going. Don't turn back just because things are not easy at the moment. Based on what I have experienced and studying the ways of great achievers, if success were easy, everybody would be doing it. Nobody would be blaming anybody for failures. The potential for greatness is in everyone, including you, but you have got to be determined to work yourself through it. If you want a result badly enough, you will get it. But you must be determined to do what is necessary. Handle the challenges of the moment in creative ways, but never turn back or give up on what you want. Gaining self-control. Self-control is a person's ability to control emotions, desires, and actions. It is the ability to separate the feelings from the self. When you let your feelings become you, your actions and decision-making capabilities become hindered. This may lead you to reacting based on your feelings and not acting according to the situation. It takes a lot of practice and effort to gain control over your feelings, but all that effort and practice will pay off in the long run and pave the way for your success in leading a well-balanced life. Needs are different from desires. There are times when desires become so strong that they transform into needs. Self-control will keep those desires under control. Think of your favorite food, or even better, bring it home and don't eat it yet. As a first step to self-control, set your mind that you will not eat that food for X number of days. I know that sounds kind of ridiculous, but trust me, it works. Abstaining from something that you really crave for will help develop resistance to impulses and desires in you. When you can resist temptation, you have gained control over your desires. All of our actions are defined by our emotions. Emotions are the most difficult to control, but if you can gain that control over your feelings, you have mastered self-control. Emotions could be anything ranging from anger, happiness, sorrow, frustration, etc. Out of all these, the biggest step towards greater self-control is controlling anger and frustration. Anger overpowers your mind and senses. You may do or say something that you will regret later. Anger is self-destructive, and you don't want to walk that path. When any person or situation makes you angry, frustrated, try this. Count till 3 before you react or divert your attention to anything that will give the required pause before reacting. This pause will mellow down your anger, and as you keep practicing, you will eventually gain complete control over your temper. Meditation is one of the best techniques to gain self-control and balance your body and mind. Meditation helps unclutter your mind of unwanted thoughts and emotions and also helps you focus and de-stress. Having a calm and clear mind enables you to control your feelings and in turn your actions. Anger management information. There is plenty of relevant anger management facts. First and foremost, it is very important to figure out anger and the outcomes of anger. Anger management will not work without knowing what it is an individual is attempting to change or manage. Anger is totally normal. It is a reaction to various circumstances. It is all right to be angry, but when this anger becomes intense, frequently, there may be major problems. Problems within the family unit, bonds, work, and it can result in health issues. People who are unable to manage their anger in a positive way are likely to transfer their anger to other instances like child and spousal abuse, violent criminal offenses, and other sorts of recklessness. This anger management info is one thing a person should consider when knowing they have a problem. There are all kinds of anger-provoking instances. More anger management info that might be of use in working through anger-related issues. Some people become mad or angry when they're frustrated, when something doesn't work out how they planned or they fail to succeed after giving their all. Circumstances like this might result in a person to be frustrated. This frustration can lead to anger that can then spin off into a whole list of negative consequences. Irritations provoke anger. Daily incidents like constant reminders or regular interruptions can lead to a person to be aggravated. This irritation continues to grow, and the result is an abrupt fit of rage. Dependent on the person, this rage can result in a person to resort to different ways of releasing their anger, some of which may be agonizing to themselves and others. When someone is being verbally abused, perhaps sexually abused, these situations provoke anger. People deal with these disturbing experiences differently, but for people who become angry because of the abuse, the outcome could be really serious, even violent. Anger management facts like this is imperative, specifically in a situation where the individual feels threatened. Being treated unfairly often provokes feelings of anger. Often people are blamed for things, whether warranted or not. It can cause them to feel angry and act out as a consequence of these feelings. There is so much info important to understanding anger management. The more facts a person can gather, the better equipped they are when looking at circumstances involving an angry individual, or if desperate to tap into the information themselves. Anger management details is accessible through many sources, books, movies, as well as the web. For an individual who requires management facts, the internet is a superb source. With many sites dedicated in management, it is very proficient in supplying the necessary information required concerning anger, consequences of anger, people affected by anger, and anger management details. Without the suitable anger management facts, it might be challenging to begin a type of treatment that would be advantageous. It's not important where the anger management details come from. It does matter, even so, what an individual does with the facts they are given. Reading and studying the info is essential, but deciding what to do with the information will make the main difference in resolving anger-related issues or not. Anger management and how people express anger. The volcano is the person who explodes or erupts. This is the person who represses their anger for a while until it becomes too much and they can't take things any longer. For example, they will physically lash out at people. They may hit their wife. They may get in a bar fight while intoxicated. Verbally lash out at people. For example, they may be verbally abusive to their friends and loved ones. Storm off. During a conversation, they may be triggered and decide to leave the room in a huff and a puff. We have either seen it in others or witnessed it in ourselves. As mentioned earlier, these are the people who normally get sent to anger management counseling and associated with having anger management problems. However, the volcano response isn't the only expression of anger. Passive-aggressive response. A really common expression of anger that a lot of people are not aware of is the passive-aggressive response. In modern society, unlike in caveman times, it isn't socially acceptable to express your anger using the volcanic approach. People will call you unstable, needing anger management counseling, and is often the number one reason why people lose their jobs and relationships. So, what do people do when anger builds within them in today's world? They react in passive aggressive ways. For example, silent treatment. You will expect the other person, whom you are mad at or choosing as a scapegoat for your anger, to be a mind reader or approach you to discuss your problem that you have with them. Oftentimes, people who employ this approach will emotionally shut down and be there in body but not in spirit. Gossip. Instead of addressing your issue with the person whom you are annoyed with, you will gossip about them to work colleagues, family, and friends. Use of sarcasm, humor, or subtle put downs. Sometimes people will disguise their anger or annoyance with someone using this passive aggressive approach, namely subtle put downs that are disguised as a joke. Often your conscious mind isn't even aware that you are annoyed with the person when you are doing it. And this is when the passive aggressive tendency is employed, often without you even being aware that you are doing it. There are a number of passive aggressive tendencies that people employ. These are just 3 common examples. How are you being passively aggressive in the different areas of your life as a way of expressing your anger? I don't judge. The most important thing to do here is not to judge. Just because you have volcanic or passive aggressive tendencies does not make you a bad person. Nobody is perfect, and we all expect our anger in one of these 2 ways from time to time. The important thing is that we understand and are aware as to why we are behaving in this manner. Real behavior change comes through awareness. From my clinical experience, generally the person or partner who has a volcanic way of expressing their anger will come along to anger management counseling sessions or be forced along. As the sessions go on, they often make the realization that they are not 100% to blame for the situation. What they find is that other people in their environment have anger management problems as well. The main difference being that they are better at hiding their anger. Usually, their way of expressing anger is through passive-aggressive tendencies. This piece of awareness doesn't shift the blame to the other person. First of all, it is important to be able to recognize anger along with the effects associated with anger. Anger management is useless with no knowledge of exactly what it really is a person is actually trying to change and handle. Anger is completely natural. This is a response to a variety of circumstances. It is also okay for you to become angry. However, if that anger gets extreme, often there might be larger issues in your household, important relationships, and the job. Also, it can result in health issues. Individuals who are not able to handle their anger in a constructive manner will probably direct their anger in another direction like child or marital abuse and various criminal offenses, as well as other kinds of irresponsibility. All of this anger management info is, of course, something a person should think about if they know they have an issue with anger. There are actually a variety of anger-creating circumstances and a lot more anger management info that could be beneficial in working through anger-affiliated problems. Many people get upset or even mad if they are annoyed, if anything does not work in the manner they intended, or even if they did not realize success when they did their best. Situations such as these might cause an individual to get annoyed. That aggravation may result in anger, which could turn right into an entire set of adverse outcomes. Agitation sets off anger. Everyday situations like continuous requests and normal disruptions may cause an individual to get aggravated. That irritability keeps on developing until the outcome is an abrupt explosion of anger. Dependent on the person, that frustration may cause an individual to turn to alternative ways of discharging the anger, most of which might be unpleasant for themselves as well as others. If a person has been verbally mistreated, may be sexually misused, these circumstances set off anger. Individuals handle these types of troubling encounters in different ways. However, for people who get angry due to mistreatment, the result might be serious, actually vicious. Anger management info is definitely crucial, particularly in a scenario in which an individual begins to feel in danger. Getting dealt with harshly frequently will cause a feeling of anger. Typically, when folks are held responsible for mistakes, whether or not justifiable, it may cause them to become upset and also behave badly due to these sensations. There is also a lot of info essential to understanding anger management. The more info an individual is able to collect, the easier it will be to deal with when they confront situations that involve an upset person, or if perhaps they want to take advantage of the info themselves. Anger management info is offered via a lot of resources, publications, and films along with the web. For somebody that needs anger management info, the web is actually an outstanding resource. Having a lot of sites focused on anger management, it is extremely good at providing the vital info needed regarding anger, effects of anger, individuals impacted by anger, and also anger management info. Without the proper anger management info, it might be hard to start a treatment course, which is helpful. It won't make a difference exactly where the anger management info originates from. It will make a difference, on the other hand, exactly what a person will do with the info they may be provided. Reading through and also understanding the info is important. However, determining how to proceed using this info can make all the difference in managing anger-affiliated problems or otherwise. Chapter 2: Bullying Avoidance Strategies. Avoidance strategies do not work because they do not take away the problem and they do not heal the issue. The problem remains and it continues to affect you. This applies to all problems. The more you hide, the bigger the problem gets. The more you run, the more the problem follows you, and the bigger it often becomes in your mind until you feel powerless to resolve it. Bullying continues until you make it stop, or until the people bullying you decide to stop. They may stop if or when someone else, a bystander or an adult, or a group of either, tell them to stop. They may stop of their own accord, but they may not. They might feel they have no reason to stop. They may well have become comfortable in their role. It may have become normal for them to bully, and for you to play the victim. They might feel you haven't given them any reason to stop. They might feel they are gaining something from the situation, for any of the reasons listed previously. You must take charge of the situation and make the bullying stop. You must make it impossible for the bullies to carry on hurting you. In order to do this, you need to first acknowledge that they are hurting you. This requires that you take a new attitude towards the problem. I will tell you how to develop this later in the book. Before that, I would like to take you through some of the avoidance strategies that people typically use in response to bullying. Denial. It's far easier to pretend that the bullying isn't happening than it is to confront it. People deny the problem to themselves and to others. They deny because bullying can be very frightening. To even admit that you are being bullied can be extremely daunting. I also remember a few occasions from my own experiences where adults gave me the opportunity to disclose the problems I was going through, and I remember clearly that I did not take those opportunities. My fear, my shame, my embarrassment, my feeling of powerlessness all held me back. Instead, I made up some excuse because I felt ashamed at feeling scared and didn't want anyone to know the pain I was in. When people did ask if I was okay, I would smile and say yes. Sometimes people did speak up for me, But rather than use this as a springboard to change my thinking, I continued to deny the problem to myself and others. In doing so, I cut myself off from the support I could have had to sort out the situation. Whatever you are going through, wherever bullying is taking place, I want you to know that you are extremely fortunate. There is an enormous amount of help and support available for anyone on the issue of bullying. Ignoring it. Young people are often advised by adults to ignore bullying. In my experience, I don't believe that ignoring bullying works. What I think adults are trying to say when they advise this is, don't believe the things that bullies say. Don't allow their words to become your thoughts, or don't internalize it. But what it actually means is protect your self-esteem by ignoring the vindictive, nasty, snide, threatening, abusive things a bully might say. You should protect your self-esteem from the words that bullies. Ignoring it works as a long-term strategy. Ignoring something nasty that is said to you just once certainly can work. But bullying is not about one of incidents. Bullying is persistent and repetitive, and even if you are pretending to ignore the bully, by walking away, by not looking at them, or responding to them, they know that you have heard and have not responded. The fact that you are ignoring the incident is more likely to encourage them to say the same things to you again and again. They may even make it their goal to persist in saying things until you eventually crack and give them the emotional response that they want. Visualization. This strategy is more of a personal one in terms of how I tried to deal with being bullied. When I was at school, visualization became an escape. I would daydream or visualize being elsewhere while at school, and in lessons, I would visualize having a different life when I returned home. I would lie on my bed and visualize bullying situations. I'd actually close my eyes and imagine or picture them in my head. If something had happened to me that day, I'd replay it as a film in my head. Then I'd edit it and change it and replay it with a new editing. I'd see myself making different decisions than the ones I had taken. So instead of being hit, I'd see myself fighting back. Instead of taking an insult, I'd watch and hear myself speaking up and see it working. I found these visualizations very helpful at the time. They were an escape. I think in some way they allowed me a release. They allowed me to get through what I was experiencing. But there was a downside. I didn't realize the effects of visualizations were having. What I didn't realize at the time is that visualization is very powerful, and your body reacts to what you are depicting in your mind as if it were real. When you imagine situations in your head and practice it to the point that you become able to visualize things very clearly, you feel the emotions that correspond to these situations very powerfully too. You feel the physical effects of the situation you are visualizing. If you're seeing a fight, for example, you experience the same bodily reactions as if the situation were real. Your body realizes adrenaline, and you feel the same emotions. You feel massive amounts of anger or fear. When you repeat the visualization over and over, you end up flooding your body with adrenaline, which is not healthy at all. Immersion. Immersion is a strategy of distracting your conscious mind from the pain you are in. People do this in a variety of ways. You might read a book and really lose yourself in the book, its story, its characters, as a way of temporarily forgetting the bullying situation or putting it out of your mind. You might also do this with schoolwork or sports or favorite activities. Anything that allows you to concentrate on something other than the pain of the fact that you are being bullied. But behind the distraction is an increasingly painful truth. The situation is still there. People sometimes bully others. They immerse themselves in the act of bullying others to try and forget the pain of their own bullying situation. People immerse themselves in drink and drugs, antisocial behavior, all to take their conscious mind away temporarily from their pain. But that pain is still there. Avoidance strategies do not work. The best thing you can do is confront the situation. Some young people become school phobic. They stop attending school or certain lessons or activities where bullying might occur. You can find yourself avoiding certain people and situations. But what happens through avoidance is that your world shrinks. You shrink the potential of your world. You limit yourself and your potential to be happy. Every strategy that you use to avoid the problem allows it to remain, and the longer it goes on, the more it affects and changes you, and many of these changes can be very destructive to your life. Self-discipline for achieving success. We already know that self-discipline is important, but do we really need it? We know about success tools, and we familiarize ourselves with many useful resources that lead us to success. So why do we need self-discipline? We all have goals for many areas of our lives. Some of us want successful relationships. Some like to get more money. Others want simply happiness in their lives, and others seek better health and less weight. These are common goals, and we sometimes fail or succeed in achieving them. The general question is, why we don't achieve those goals? Why we don't become successful in these goals? The general answer is lack of self-discipline. Success needs time. It does not happen at once. What you do today will determine the results in your future. If you change your present, you change your future. If you eat a lot of pizzas and delicious food today, you will gain weight, and this will show in your future weight. If you spend more money than what you earn today, you will have less money in the future. Present steps determine future results. Self-discipline takes place in your present, which will lead to your future. You can learn many tips and tools for your goals, but unless you take action for these goals, you will never become successful in reaching them. Almost all goals need efforts and continuity. Self-discipline will enable you to get required efforts and continuity. If you need to lose weight, you need self-discipline, among other skills, to eat less. If you want to make more money, you have to discipline yourself either for more savings or for more investing. Self-discipline takes time, and so is success. It is about making some sacrifices. Yes, sometimes it means doing some hard sacrifices. Why do we need to sacrifice for anything? Why not just enjoy the moment of time and do what we love to do? Of course, no one will force you to do anything you don't really want to do. However, we sacrifice because we all have values and important goals in our lives, and these values require us to make a choice, either pleasure or that goal. The two cannot be achieved in the same time in most cases. Our lives are full of temptations. We have TVs, good food, chocolates, video games, etc. These temptations make it harder for us to resist having more fun, and thus we neglect the more important goals in our lives. Almost all of us want to have a slim figure, but with these temptations around us almost all of the time, we lose that goal of a slim figure. Almost all of us want to make more money, but it is not easy to resist, for example, discounted travel packages. In these cases, we really need self-discipline. It will allow us to focus on our goals and pursue them until we reach success. With self-discipline, we can exercise better control on our instant wishes. It is the difference between what you feel and what you think. It is the borderline between your heart and your brain. You may want to eat that pizza which was shown on a TV commercial, But your self-discipline stops you because you have a goal of weight control. And in this process, it allows you to succeed in that goal. It is an amazing resource for success. Actually, many experts believe that it is impossible to reach success without it. According to Lou Holtz, without self-discipline, success is impossible, period. Research shows that entrepreneurs must have it in order to succeed in business. According to Jerry Osteryoung, who had worked with 3,000 leaders, he noticed that what is common among the successful ones among them is not their education or intelligence or training, but it is their high self-discipline. For students, studies show that high school performance is linked to high self-discipline rather than to high IQ level. I had met a 21-year-old student who finished high school with straight A's. He went to medical school, only for 1 year and dropped out. He did not complete his study. He also refused any coaching or advices. His IQ level was extraordinarily high at 154. Certainly with his high intelligence, he did not need any coaching for how to study, but he definitely needed coaching for why to study. He simply did not want to study, and he did not complete his studies in spite of his intelligence. He lacked any self-discipline for study. It is a habit found in successful people. And it is a mental habit. Successful persons were programmed mentally for self-discipline. They use it naturally and automatically. This way, it is not a hard effort for them to do and use it regularly. We know that success has a trend and common laws. We also know that successful persons become successful just by following these laws. Many experts studied successful people for many years and wrote many rich and useful books about them. One top expert in this field, Brian Tracy, claims that one main skill that you need to achieve success is the resource of self-discipline. You may know many laws of success, and you may have a map of your goals, but this map will not work if you do not exercise self-control for your goals. It is a fact that 97% of people do not write their goals, and this by itself is a major obstacle to success. But simply by writing the goals is not enough unless it is combined with self-discipline. It is your practical map for success. It is your pragmatic steps that lead you to translating your goals into success. Successful persons have high self-discipline, and they use it without experiencing hardship. They view it not as a hard sacrifice or boring tasks to do, but rather as a type of freedom. Freedom from dependence on others, freedom from procrastinations, and freedom from self-limitations. We need it for all areas of our lives. It is connected with time management skills. With it, you can better organize your time. It can lead to self-esteem, self-confidence, and self-satisfaction. You will need it also for developing spiritual growth, self-growth, and meditation. It is one major resource to reach what you are capable of, your potential. Some people were born with high self-discipline. However, the majority of people do not have it, and it is possible for them to learn it. The learning can be in two forms: by conscious tools, which means by daily exercises for some time, for a month or so, or by unconscious tools, such as hypnosis, which is more effective and longer lasting. In either method, the person can acquire self-discipline and will be able to complete his required tasks as necessary. The benefits of discipline. Discipline is not enjoyable at all. It is not agreeable for your personal agenda, and it always spoils everything for you. You have to get up early in the morning to go to work, even though you have been awake most of the night watching a movie. And discipline says, leave the late night movie. Rather, go to sleep and have a good night's rest. It is inconvenient for you because you really wanted to watch that movie. That was so interesting. Get up, dress up, and show up, they say. That is referring to your job. How are you going to manage to keep your job if you go to work only when you feel like it? So discipline says, control yourself and be dependable at work so that you can earn a salary and support your family. If you were not disciplined when you were young, then you are regarded as illegitimate children, which is quite obvious. Any parent would discipline their children because they, the parent, loves their children. So, in what sense a parent would discipline a child if that child cannot have what it wants all the time? I think a parent would do that to teach the child responsibility, respect for others, and that the world does not revolve around the child. And a parent would keep on disciplining a child so that those children will cultivate good habits, knowing that there are consequences of their actions, good or bad. So, if you have good habits and a good discipline, then you will have good consequences. And the opposite will happen if you have bad habits. So if your parents love you, then they will discipline you because it is for your own good. When you are young, you do not understand this concept. If you are being disciplined, you regard it as punishment, and you are not sure why you are being punished. But take heart. It is not that you are being punished for nothing. Your parents are disciplining you for your own good, so that you can prosper when you are older. The best way to learn from discipline is do not fight against it. Do not rebel against your parents. They are disciplining you for your own good. Work with the whole disciplining process and do exactly what is expected of you. And do your chores willingly, and your life will be more pleasant. Above all, watch your attitude at all times. Work willingly, with discipline, and it will be more bearable and pleasant for you. Work at your discipline. Build a habit of keeping to the rules and regulations of your discipline. Then your discipline will not become a discipline anymore, because you do what is expected of you by habit. Discipline is easy to live with, provided you do not fight against it. And if you rebel against your parents and their discipline, you are going to have a most miserable life. So start early in life and cultivate a disciplined life. Be careful of your attitude towards your parents' discipline. They do so for your own good. Chapter 3. Strength training is all in the mind. What is strength training? Strength training is performing exercises with the intention of making your muscles stronger. These exercises generally take the form of performing a movement against a resistance, for example, your body weight or free weights. How strength training is different to bodybuilding. Bodybuilding and strength training are often mistakenly thought of as being the same thing because they use similar techniques. But there are some key differences in the training methods, the end results, and most importantly, the primary aim. In bodybuilding, there is one goal: aesthetics. The aim is to increase the size, definition, and symmetry of muscles to build an impressively muscular physique. Bodybuilders increase in strength as they train, but this is only a side effect of their training. In strength training, the main aim is to increase the strength of the muscles. Strength training will also tend to increase the size of the muscles, but not to anywhere near the same extent as bodybuilding. Factors affecting strength. In essence, strength is a measure of the ability of a muscle to exert a force against a resistance. Although the size of a muscle is often related to its strength, one does not always follow the other. It is possible to massively increase your strength without gaining much, if any, muscle mass. And it is also possible to increase the size of your muscles without gaining much strength. Increasing muscle mass will increase your strength because you will have more muscle fibers to exert a force. However, when you lift a weight, you never actually use all the available muscle fibers at the same time. By learning to increase the number you use, you can increase your strength without increasing your muscle mass. The number of fibers activated in the muscle depends on the signal that they receive from the brain. When training specifically to gain strength, your nervous system will learn to activate a greater proportion of the muscle fibers, which increases your strength. Training the brain. If you want to get stronger, you need to focus on the nervous system because it is that which has the greatest influence on your strength more than anything else. Unsurprisingly, the best way to train your nervous system is to lift heavy weights. Increasing your strength is primarily about training the connection between your mind and the muscles. By exerting large forces to lift heavy weights, your nervous system will learn to adapt to them. You need to be lifting weights such that you can only manage between 2 to 5 repetitions per set. Any more than this, and the weight isn't heavy enough. Training frequency also has a big effect. For maximum strength gains, you need to train regularly and often. Most bodybuilding routines train each body part only once per week to allow the muscles to fully recover. Strength training taxes the muscles in a different way, so that the recovery period needed is not so long. It is primarily the nervous system that is being trained. You should be aiming to train each body part around twice a week. Strength training workouts should be short, but intense. You should not be training to failure. Training to failure will increase the time needed to recover, which will not help you gain strength. Choosing the right exercises is also important for building strength. The most effective forms of exercise for strength are heavy compound lifts and body weight exercises. For example, barbell squats and pull-ups. Types of strength training. In most sporting situations, it is not the maximum strength that is critical for improving performance. It requires different training to develop muscle strength appropriate and functional in terms of the situations mentioned above. Further, I therefore look at some strength training methods for the development of the maximum muscle strength. Muscle volume. Static muscle strength. Doggy muscle strength. Training of maximum strength with a large external load. If you want to do a muscle group so the bar as possible, you need to both develop the cross-section of muscle and improve neuromuscular function. Experiments have shown that you get the best results if you use large loads. This means objects that weigh between 80 and 100% of 1 RM, 1 repetition maximum. If you are lifting so heavy, it is important to be well trained in advance. You should also master the body use and have good lifting technique. If you can stand more than 4 or 5 repetitions per series, this is a good sign that you can increase the load somewhat. Want to get good results? You should exercise at least 3 times a week. Those who place great emphasis on this method of training are usually training between 4 to 6 times a week. Remember, however, that it is necessary to give the different muscle groups enough rest between workouts. Furthermore, you need to find exercises that hit the muscles of the various sports demands. There is this thing called specifications or requirements analysis. Training for maximal strength with medium-sized external load. From academic quarters, Mon advised not to start exercising maximum strength until 16 years of age. A novice should not train with loads going up to the maximum. 50 to 60% of the maximum is heavy enough to provide a usable training effect in the initial adaptation phase. If you are strong enough and have a good lifting technique, you can vary any of these fitness models in the bench press and squat. Training of muscle volume bodybuilding. The goal of a bodybuilder is to be as muscular as possible. In order to get developed a large and pronounced musculature on the body parts that are evaluated in bodybuilding, they must get rid of excess fat and build muscle cross-section of intensive strength training with relatively modest external weight loads. This can be achieved with a strict diet, cutting, and a training program that builds up the muscle proportions. The main trend is that this training be implemented with many repetitions, reps, series, set. This strength training form is called the pump method. Experts believe that bodybuilders who train with relatively moderate weight loads will survive poorly in weightlifting and powerlifting than athletes who train with external loads up to the maximum. This would then mean that the training methods of a bodybuilder is less likely to develop maximum power. Bodybuilders located at a high level of performance, training up to 2 sessions of the day most of the year. Every muscle group is usually trained 2 to 4 times per week. One exception is abdominals, stomach, that they exercise at least 4 to 5 times a week. Training of static, isometric muscle strength. Practical experiment. Lock a boom on the upper side. Lie on your back and try to squeeze all you can. Stand with your feet against the pole. You can register quickly that there's something in the muscles that extend the hip and knee joints. If you press the maximum, you notice that you only manage to hold out for a short time. Muscles that work in this way perform a static work. There's no movement in the joints while you are in, and muscle length does not change. Blood vessels and muscles press together, and there is almost a loss of oxygen. Energy revenues is largely anaerobic. The muscles become tired, and they will solidify if the static muscle work lasts a while. Regarding the requirements for stability and to maintain body position, this will vary from sport to sport. In some sports such as shooting with a rifle, pistol, and bow, we try to find the body positions and use the muscles that provide the most quiet of the body and gear. This is called the static stability. In other sports, they have muscles to sustain a constant static pressure, where the external force variations are quite predictable. Such static stability is required, for example, of the forearm muscles, fingers in connection with windsurfing, keep the boom, and the thigh and seat muscles that hold body position stable in speed skating. The stability also means opposition to the rapid and uncontrollable variation in external influence, as in wrestling, judo, and skiing. There all the time are talking about dynamic changes of body position relative to the surface, lighting conditions, opponents, tactics, etc. The rapid variations in the external power pattern in these sports requires great force to the speed of mobilization and power development, with a view to providing a dynamic stability. As with other strength training, also apply to static exercise that you can progress as you train on. Training affects the strength of the muscle length you train in. You develop maximum isometric strength by static exercise with maximum effort. And you will be better to hold a long position. You have to train for long sessions. The training of the maximum static strength. It is easiest to work with an opposition that is so great that you are not able to make some movement. Perform the exercises in different positions in the movement path. Use 3 different positions in the joint, so that you exercise the muscles in 3 different initial lengths. If you train stamina, static muscular strength for a particular sport, the training should be made in relation to the requirements set sport when it comes to stress, duration, and body position. In some cases, it may be useful to combine such training with the dynamic work. The following methods may be appropriate for the training of endurance static muscle strength. Model A. Hold time, 10 to 12 seconds, 3 to 5 repetitions, times 5 series, minus a break for 1 to 2 minutes. Model B. Hold time, maximum 1 repetition, times 3 sets, 3 to 5 minute breaks. Model C. Hold time, 10 to 12 seconds, 10 to 15 reps, 5 to 15 second pauses. Training effective maximal static strength goes out especially to increase muscle cross-section. The training method is to some extent used to supplement training in modern weightlifting. Training of persistent static muscle strength is available in the rehabilitation or injury for people who will train the stabilizing muscles in the abdomen and back and to prevent muscle wastage. Training of muscle strength endurance. With persistent muscle strength, the muscle is believed to have the ability to economize power consumption. How much power can we develop over a relatively long time is critical in sports where you have to overcome an external load or resistance many times. Such sports are canoeing, rowing, swimming, cross-country skiing, alpine skiing, skating, wrestling, sailing, long distance, and most ball games. What to expect in the Marine Corps training. In the Marine Corps training, you are converted from a civilian into a soldier. The recruits are trained to endure odds and hardships, but individuals should know how to work within a team. The shared intense experience is what creates comradeship and standards of conduct so that Marines won't let anything stand in their way. The Marines are not only trained to be tough physically, but mentally as well. The core values, honor, courage, and commitment are what mold recruits to be who they're supposed to be. What can you expect during the Marine Corps training? You will have the longest and toughest 13 weeks of your life. In your recruit receiving phase, you will receive your very first Marine haircut. The initial gear will be issued, and that includes your uniform, toiletries, and letter writing materials. During this phase, you will have your full medical and dental screening, and you would have to take the IST, or Initial Strength Test. This test would include a 1.5-mile run, sit-ups, and pull-ups. This is done to check if you are in shape to start the training. Next will be forming. What happens during forming? You will meet the drill instructors for the first time, and during this 3 to 5 days phase, you will learn the basics: how to march, how to wear the uniform properly, how to secure your weapons, and so on. You should be able to adjust to the training way of life before the first actual training day. What else is included in the Marine Corps training? You would have to undergo the drill, physical training, academic training, core values, Marine Corps martial arts program, confidence course, combat water survival, basic warrior training, field training, marksmanship training, FFR, field meet, crucible, transition phase, and lastly, family day and graduation. Top tip: surviving Marine Corps basic training. Explain the top tip for you for surviving Marine Corps basic training. One thing that you have to understand is why you have to go through basic training to begin with. Basic training is set up so that you will be broken down into a formidable opponent for the enemies in a wartime situation. In essence, you will be transformed into a powerful fighting robot. You will no longer be an individual. You will become part of a very powerful and strong unit that will be perfectly trained to fight and to survive. Here is the best tip that I can provide you with for preparing yourself for boot camp. Mental preparation is necessary. Understand that you have an internal ability to deal with things that you never had to deal with before, and that you will probably presently feel are impossible to deal with. The brain is an amazing thing, and actually, you only use a portion of your brain on a daily basis. Going through basic training, you learn to deal with situations that the normal human being is unable to do, with mentally or physically. In other words, my major tip for you is that you should start to prepare yourself mentally before arriving at boot camp in order to breeze through the training sessions. This mental preparation can be done in numerous ways. Nevertheless, learning to meditate, to focus, and to concentrate on a level that you never had to accomplish previously is a great plan of action. Once you deal with something mentally through visualization, then the physical part will just be secondary. How to make better business decisions. Making good business decisions is a valuable skill that can be learned and applied throughout your life. On the other hand, a bad business decision can affect and ruin you, your employees, and even your business permanently. In fact, bad business decisions are one of the leading causes of total company failure. Bad decisions are often made when we become emotionally caught up in a situation, or we simply lack patience required to make the smart decision. Good business decisions require that you follow these major steps. Determine the right method. Know and understand your options. Gather information. And understand the consequences. If you learn to always follow these steps as you work through the decision-making process, you will likely become a very good decision maker throughout your life. Step number 1. Determine the right method. There are 4 common methods that are used in the decision-making process: command, consult, vote, and consensus. Each comes with an increasing degree of participant involvement and an increased commitment level. However, more participant involvement also decreases the decision-making efficiency. If you will take the time to learn and understand these 4 methods of decision-making and apply them accordingly, you will be on the way to becoming a very good decision maker. Command. The person in charge always makes the final decision, and the decision-making process is often made very quickly without much thought. This process involves only the person in charge leaving all others to deal with the choice, whether they like it or not. This is a good way to make a decision if others are not affected by your choice and the potential consequences are minor. Consult. The decision maker gathers information and opinions from others to help him or her make the final decision. This involves more people and resources, but the final decision is still made by the person in charge. This is a more thought-out and calculated decision-making process, and is a great way to make a decision as long as others are not seriously affected. Remember that others may not agree with your decision, so make sure you know when to use this process. Vote. Members of this group offer their opinion by voting on their choice to determine the final decision based on popular choice. This is a great way to gather everyone's opinion to help you make a quick decision that satisfies the majority of the group. However, this will likely not satisfy everyone. So if you are looking for a total group agreement before a final decision is made, consensus is the right choice for you. Consensus. Everyone is involved and talks through the options until everyone agrees on a choice or collaboration of choices. A final decision is not made until everyone in the group agrees to a common choice. This is a great way to achieve business cohesiveness and group commitment, but it is usually very inefficient and can lead to delays in the decision-making process. Now that you have determined what decision-making process is appropriate for your situation, let's move to step number 2. Step 2. Knowing and understanding your options. You can create a simple list of choices with a little research and some brainstorming. This process will help you broaden your thinking and open up a whole world of options. After you have made the list, create a list of pros and cons next to each option to help you narrow down your choices. Step number 3. Gather information. Researching your options and gathering information is one of the most important steps in making smart business decisions. Better business decisions can often be made when accurate information and business statistics are available. If you can pull instant sales, inventory, financial, employee, and other critical business reports and records related to your company, you will have a great advantage in making good business decisions. If you are unable to pull accurate business reports that help you in the decision-making process, we recommend a free-to-try business management suite that can dramatically help you become more efficient at running your business and give you the capabilities you need to be able to pull valuable decision-making reports. Step number 4. Understand the consequences. With every decision, there is a good or bad consequence, which is why it is so important to understand the potential outcome of your decisions. You can use your pros and cons list from step number 2 to help you prepare for possible outcomes. Understanding the possible outcomes of your decisions can help you be more prepared to handle any future situation that may arise. Conclusion. When you want to bring about a change in your life, You must recognize that change is the only way of the universe, of mice and men, and you are one of these. The only way to change anything is to change your beliefs and how you think about it. As long as you think about your problem, it will and must continue to gain strength, since unknowingly you are, through your thought, contributing and exacerbating the severity of the problem. You can build up your muscles all you want, but if you aren't focused on the right exercises, your nervous system won't adapt and you won't get stronger. Strength training is all in the mind. Now that you have the tools to help you start making smarter business decisions, believe in yourself and go out there and make them. Anyone can learn how to make smarter business decisions with a little practice.